Congratulations to you for watching a heavy-tasting movie before you go to bed. A Spoon of Sugar Millie is a female college student in kindergarten. In order to complete her academic thesis, she came to the employer to hire a nanny, and her main job is to take care of the little boy in the raincoat in front of her. The hostess Rebecca tells her her son Tommy has congenital autism. He's grown up. Not even a simple mother can call, and he's allergic to a lot of things. Not only can't get in touch with animals, even a spoon of sugar may kill him. The most important thing is Tommy also has a very serious phobia. It's obvious that taking care of such a child requires a lot of patience. The smart Millie saw the concern of the other party. She used her own age to clearly express her opinion, saying that many patients' allergic problems are actually due to psychology. In addition to physical therapy, it can also be considered to relieve symptoms by using colorectal acid, although Millie did her best to show her expertise. But due to her lack of experience as a nanny, Rebecca is still a little worried. In order to achieve this job, Millie slowly approached Tommy and tried to talk to the other party. I didn't expect Tommy not to show any resistance, but wrote hello on the white paper. After seeing that his son did not reject this stranger, Rebecca let go of her concerns and officially introduced the content of the work. At first, Millie listened very seriously, but soon her eyes were attracted by the man in the yard, Michael. The smell of muscle and male hormones soon made Millie want to fly. When Michael walked into the room naked, he couldn't help but secretly shine. Fortunately, Rebecca appeared in time, and it was impolite for the gentleman's husband to be naked in front of the little girl. It's very rude to be barefaced in front of a child, but I didn't expect Mike to listen. Not only did he not close his eyes, instead, regardless of the occasion, he fell in love with Rebecca. Here's a very key detail. That's the approach to Mike. Rebecca was very resistant. We're finally going to answer this question. Millie was in a good mood after the film was successful. On the bus to go home, a passenger was worried about passing the station, keep looking out the window. Because he was too close to Millie, it made him think he had met a color wolf. He even imagined that the other side had become a demon. Then with his own passionate picture, and Millie enjoyed this feeling very much. Such a perverted performance can scare the passengers in the car. Millie awkwardly ran off the bus, quickly took out a small bottle of water, and put the liquid inside into her mouth to pacify her agitated heart. I didn't expect this Millie to have a more serious psychological illness. As long as you get in touch with the men around you, she will fantasize about being close to the other person in her mind. Then Millie came to the psychological clinic through conversations with doctors. Millie has been an orphan since she was a child. She is extremely indifferent to human feelings, although several families have adopted her. But in the end, they all declared failure. Millie said that the conditions of those families were originally very good. It's a pity that all the male owners in the family are of the same nature. Here we can infer that he may have been sexually harassed by many adoptive fathers. Even a more serious violation. After a period of treatment, Millie's condition has improved. The doctor recommended that he reduce the amount of medicine. After all, the drug he is using now belongs to microprocedures. And this microprocedure is what he mentioned when he applied pancreatic acid. Pancreatic acid can quickly suppress heart disease, but at the same time, it will also strengthen the senses, causing the user to have a strong illusion. But the sound of the words just fell. Millie saw the doctor's fingers suddenly broken, fell to the ground and slowly crawled towards him. Finally, a little bit into his mouth. Even if the illusion has seriously affected Millie's life, but he still did not listen to the doctor's advice to reduce the amount of medicine, because now Millie has completely relied on it. The sense of stimulation brought by the drug to the patient. Even when he is not sick, he has to come up with 2 drops. It seems that only in the illusion, to satisfy his mental state. But the illusion will eventually be broken by reality. He quickly hid the diary, and then went to prepare breakfast for his father-in-law. At the table, his father-in-law asked him how he was doing in his study recently, and why he didn't see the results list. Then he unintentionally inquired about his new housekeeper. After knowing that Millie had an interview, his father-in-law suddenly knelt down and begged him not to leave. At the same time, he was still greedy to breathe the smell on his body. Millie felt disgusting, but she had to endure it for the time being. Fortunately, Millie was fooled and finally let her father-in-law agree to her request to go to work. This plot hides 2 important information. First, Millie lied to her adoptive father, the employer, and all the doctors in the family, because she has been hidden from the truth for a long time. Second, the abnormal behavior of the adoptive father also shows that she is very dependent on Millie. The 2 people have some kind of improper relationship. Soon, the time came to the next day, Millie successfully took up the role of nanny. I didn't expect her to get along with Tommy, a boy who is extremely unstable at ordinary times. At this time, he is willing to get close to Millie. He even ran out of the house to play. The scene in front of his eyes also makes the male protagonist Mike very pleased. But because Millie has been taking acid for a long time, he is often in a state of excitement. Even the action of Mike eating an apple will make him think about it. After Mike left, Tommy suddenly ran under an apple tree, as if he was looking for something in the soil. Millie was curious and went to check it out, but found that he had dug out a dead rabbit. Millie was very shocked to see this because she remembered that Rebecca had clearly said that Tommy was allergic to all animals. But now he's got a rabbit body, and he's done with it. What's worse is that Tommy doesn't have any symptoms of allergy at all, and he has a serious tendency to abuse. It seems that the boy in front of him is the same as himself. He's a bad guy who lies. I'm very excited to find the same kind of rice. He even took out a small knife to teach Tommy how to dissect the body. Then he tore off the rabbit's fur and gave it to him as a gift. What's even weirder is that Tommy didn't feel afraid. Instead, he smiled with Millie. It seems to be very satisfied with his bloody gift. Then Tommy took out the other rabbit he killed. He said he wanted to do it himself. Time came to the evening. Millie was about to go home after washing her hands, but coincidentally saw Rebecca's underwear. This led to her problem with the silver again. Because Rebecca didn't go on a business trip at home, she changed her underwear to her own without hesitation, even before she left. She secretly put the picture of Mike in her pants when she got home. She couldn't wait to take 2 drops of, and started the manual mode for the picture of Mike as we mentioned before. Stomach acid will make people hallucinate. At the same time, it can enlarge the perception of the consumer. This made Millie truly experience the feeling of being entangled with Mike. And this extreme sense of speed also made him kill Rebecca, to replace his terrible idea one morning. Before Millie went to work, she put on a delicate makeup for herself. I'm going to draw Mike's attention with this, and today is Tommy's birthday. Because Rebecca is out of town at this time and missed the flight. Mike had a big fight with her on the phone. Millie will not let go of such a good opportunity. At night, she carefully prepared a sugar-free cake, celebrate with Mike. Mike celebrated Tommy's birthday together, as if the 3 people in front of him were more like a happy family. But Tommy's panic disorder didn't work out and suddenly started to work. The birthday party could only be forced to end. Fortunately, under the comfort of Millie, Tommy's mood calmed down quickly. Lying in his arms, he slept quietly. I thought the next time would only be him and Mike. But then Millie found out that Mike was having a sweet talk with his wife at this time. Under the temptation of jealousy, Millie directly cut off the phone line. Without the obstruction of Rebecca, Mike finally noticed her. Seeing that Millie did not resist her approach, Mike's mischievous nature was also completely exposed at this time. Just as the two were about to enter into a conversation, the son suddenly opened the door because of the urine bed. Although the good opportunity was destroyed, this interaction made Millie more confident. He thought that since Mike was also interested in himself, replacing Rebecca's plan was just a matter of time. A few days later, Rebecca returned home. As soon as she entered the door, she came to her son's room in a hurry, sent a late birthday blessing, but did not expect to respond to her, but a bright ear and her son's indescribable push and pull. Rebecca feels confused, but can't figure out the reason why her son changed. But we can't see it with the audience's perspective. At this time, Tommy's psychological dependence had already been transferred to Millie. The next morning, Millie took Tommy to the park for a walk. The other nannies naturally thought that Millie was Tommy's mother. Millie seems to be enjoying the situation in front of her. Under his deliberate guidance, Tommy's condition quickly improved. But Millie took advantage of these unique opportunities, continuously instilling extremely dangerous thoughts in Tommy. He claimed that Tommy and himself are the same kind of person and should be together forever. And these psychological controls also made Tommy's dependence on her become deeper and deeper. But as time went by, Rebecca finally noticed something strange. This day, she just touched Tommy's one muscle and was immediately taken back. On the contrary, Millie gave her son a haircut with scissors, but the son was very obedient. Tommy is more and more rejecting his mother. Even frequently attacked Rebecca without motivation. Millie saw that her plan was so smooth, so she decided to speed up. So she came to the clinic and pretended to vomit and opened the doctor. And took advantage of the opportunity to steal a large amount of myocardial acid. Because Millie thought of a crazier plan. He will steal all the myocardial acid into Tommy's treatment, and his purpose is to make Tommy become his own kind in the real sense. Tommy, who takes myocardial acid, soon had an unprecedented illusion and sense of speed. He started to play with Millie like crazy and even ran to the middle of the street and danced. This made them almost hit by a car, and the one who got off the car was Mike's wife. Rebecca saw Millie go out with her son in private. But the next scene made her turn her anger into joy. Tommy, who had never spoken before, shouted a mother. But Rebecca was too happy and immediately fell into a bigger panic, because this mother was shouting at Millie. Rebecca, who returned home, lost control and kept questioning her son. Why are you so cruel to yourself? And Millie on the other side finally waited for her long-awaited opportunity. When Mike drove her home, she still couldn't resist the temptation. In the midst of emotions. At this moment, Millie's plan to take over is almost complete. However, there is another key problem that needs to be solved, and that is the foster father in his home. After returning home, the foster father's words are very abnormal, and it is obvious that he has witnessed everything in the car just now. He kept asking Millie why he did this, and even said a shocking secret. He pointed at the photo and said, "For you, I lost my wife, and now you have betrayed me." This sentence tells a more terrible truth, that is, the foster father was obsessed with Millie, and he did not hesitate to kill his wife. At the same time, it also reflected the terrible place of Millie's manipulation of people's hearts. Since Mike is currently the more ideal Shaja, and Tommy is the same kind, so the old and weak adoptive father also lost the value of using. Millie took advantage of the lack of protection, and used a belt to drag him to death, and then cut off his hair, carefully hiding it in the previous diary. And this diary in front of me is all the murder records in his life, and it contains the information of the 4 adoptive fathers, but do not be confused by the surface numbers. In fact, the victim is far more than that, because the single man is not qualified to adopt a girl, so each family is at least made up of a couple. In other words, Millie has at least 8 lives in her hands. After dealing with the trouble of raising a father, Millie came to Mike's house without hesitation. Just when he was about to enter the door, but accidentally bumped into a psychologist who was talking to Rebecca. It turned out that this doctor was also Tommy's doctor. In the eavesdropping process, Millie learned that the doctor was quite optimistic about Tommy's recovery. He thinks that, for the sake of the child, he should let Millie continue to take care of Tommy, but Rebecca is firmly opposed to this suggestion. He clearly said that he could not accept Millie approaching his son again, and then hinted at the doctor that Tommy's violent behavior could be affected by Millie. Hearing these conversations, Millie's expression gradually faded, and it seems that she was really angry. After the doctor left, Millie went into the kitchen and prepared an apple pie for Tommy, and this is where Mike came in. Because of last night's insomnia, the two fell in love with each other, but didn't expect Tommy next to him, but suddenly used a fork to pierce Mike's thigh. In order to soothe Tommy's emotions, Millie took him back to his room, but this time he did not soothe him gently as usual, but used the skills learned from the doctor to continue to tell Tommy to kill his mother, so that Millie could be his new mother. In order to accompany her son better, Rebecca put down all the work in her hands, and thought that through contact with her son, she could make Tommy change his mind and accept her again. But when he saw his position in the painting of his son was replaced by Millie, Rebecca's mood is out of control again. At the same time, Millie on the other side also found a psychologist. In order to prevent him from telling the truth that he also had a mental illness, Millie gave him a clean and clear result, although the film did not show how to kill. But through Millie's lines, saying that this doctor is just like those adoptive fathers, they are all scums. So it is not difficult for us to deduce that he also used the method of seduction. Soon, Millie appeared at Tommy's door again. But at this time, Rebecca said nothing to let him meet his son. Millie thought it was her own care that made Tommy's condition better, so she had a fierce quarrel with him. It's a pity that he didn't take advantage of the quarrel. Seeing that the situation was not good, Millie found Mike to help. But I didn't expect this hypocrite who only wanted to live happily in the second half of his life, but didn't want to be an enemy for Millie and his wife. Rebecca in the room is painting with her son, but Tommy took out a small knife and stabbed him in the back. At this moment, Tommy doesn't know what happened at all. He took the acid in the drug. The acid in the pills is in the illusion of the whole person. The body and mind are completely out of control. Fortunately, the amount of medicine is not large. Tommy's knife quickly fell to the ground. Rebecca finally had no choice but to force him into the closet of the room. And on the other side of Millie, in order to ask Mike to help, the beauty skill was once again used. Mike, who is controlled by the brain of the little brain. Of course, there is no firmness, but just when the two forgot about my insomnia, Rebecca suddenly appeared with a knife. Directly pointed to Millie, who was unprotected. Millie was seriously injured. Run out of the door in a hurry. Mei Tengsheng happened to bump into Tommy, who ran out of the room. Looking at this boy who used to call his mother, Millie desperately asked him for help. But what everyone didn't expect was, Tommy, who has always trusted him the most, raised his knife in his hand, then pointed at Millie, like a madman, repeatedly. In the sound of a sound, Millie soon lost her breath, until the last one. He didn't even figure out what was going on, and the Mike couple next to him. It's like it's been a long time, coldly looking at everything in front of him. He even said that if his son keeps killing like this, I'm afraid the yard in the house is not enough to bury. Finally, as the camera gradually pulled away under each tree in the yard, it turns out that they are all buried with the victims' nannies. And the number of these bodies, it's far more than the records in the Millie diary. What's more terrible than the bad guys? These bad guys all have different levels of psychological problems, including a large number of extreme plots in the film: child violence, sexual addiction, instigation of mothers and children, and drug abuse. Directly led to this film only to be released for 3 days. It was jointly resisted by many countries and then cruelly fined. And the name of the film is actually derived from the Disney song. The song, A Spoonful of Sugar, is supposed to encourage those naughty children to eat medicine, but in this film it is twisted to eat poison in the name of sweetness. The myocardial acid that appears many times in the plot is the building material of LSD. It is often used in a new drug that looks like a sticker, which is the so-called oil ticket. It is colorless and tasteless, but it is extremely toxic. The power is 3 times as high as the rock. So don't be misled by the misuse of drugs